And we're live.
Recording now. The red light is on.
Yeah, but actually we're not going to be live.
Are we just riffing?
Riffing? What does that mean?
No plan. Kind of going. Feeling the vibe. That kind of stuff.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man.
Well, 2020 is over. Now we're into 2021. We'll see what this year brings.
11 days in. Some other stuff is already happening.
11 days in. We already had a nice little trip to Colorado.
We
Got
did.
some snowboarding, skiing in.
I say it was probably the perfect way to end 2020.
Yeah, and to start 2021.
Yeah.
With a great group of friends and having a good time out there in the mountains. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I unpacked today from that. That's how bad I am about procrastinating when it comes to trips.
I'm the same way. So like I'll usually I'll get like my bathroom stuff and everything because you tend to just use that, as soon as you get home. But like stuff in my suitcase will sit there on my floor and I'll like still live out of the suitcase. Like there's stuff that I don't like. I'll get my dirty stuff and I'll put that in the washer. But the clean stuff that I hadn't worn that trip that I planned on wearing, like I'll just continue to kind of pull out when I need it.
I do that a little bit
until it's empty.
A lot of ours was like snow gear though too. So like I literally unpacked that today. Like all my pants and stuff. I finally just threw them in the washer today. They've just been sitting in that Tupperware tub.
So I'm a slow unpacker. And I'm also a like last minute packer.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I in my head, whenever I'm planning for a trip, in my head I start like compiling a list of things I'm gonna want to take. And every now and then I'll like actually open up a note on my phone and make a list of things I don't want to forget as I think about them. But yeah, I don't pack ahead of time.
That probably stresses people out. You're like, how? Because I know some people like they want to pack like the day before and like make sure they don't forget anything. I have yet to forget most things. Like I might have forgotten a few things here and there, but all my major stuff, like even though I do it last minute, I always get all the things I need.
I'm pretty sure Macy has like a note in her phone for trips of like general list of things not to forget.
Smart.
Yeah, so it's just like a checklist, like with little bullet points that you literally
like stuff you're always going to bring.
Yeah, exactly. Phone chargers, toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, shampoo, whatever. And like I'm sure for girls it's different too, because like you might have to remember like more makeup and beauty products, like whatever. But yeah, no, I'm like I'm a last minute packer. I just build up a list in my head or write it on my phone, and then night before or whatever, go ahead and pack it all up. But
so I will recommend if anybody has a chance to go snowboarding or skiing, man, dude, it's so much fun.
Oh, that was a good time. So that was my first time snowboarding, right? Yeah. And I've been skiing before, but I've only been skiing one time, and everybody told me, oh, you're going to fall down so much. Take a butt pad. Like, you're going to fall down a lot. And I definitely fell down a lot. But I picked it up by the third day because we were there for 3 days. So that was nice. By the end of the second day, I was kind of getting comfortable. And third day, I was feeling good about it. Definitely spent a lot less time falling down.
You took like no classes at all?
No.
It just was self-taught, basically. I mean, we were able to give you tips and stuff, but even that's kind of hard. Because, like, I notice, like, whenever I try to give you tips and stuff and tell you, like, how I do it, it's more of, like, a feeling thing. It's like, it's just like my body knows what to do.
And there's mental gaps you have to get past, Like, you have to trust some things. There was, like, each day, multiple times each day, like, every couple hours, the more I'd fall down, like, I would learn new things. And, like, it would make sense in my head of, like, why that works. But it wasn't, like, intuitive whenever you first, like, get on a board. You don't just, like, naturally do that. There was things that you had to learn. And you really had to like trust your body and like how the physics of it worked. But it wasn't bad. Skiing wasn't bad learning either. I didn't take classes for that one. Now, I will say, just as a general statement, I could agree with skiing is easier to learn than snowboarding. I think snowboarding took me about almost a whole day extra to learn. Skiing, I picked it up. We only skied for 2 days, and I feel like I picked it up on the first day, and then by the second day, I was like pretty comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Whereas snowboarding, it took me till the end of the second day. But there were some like mental gaps that I had to cover with snowboarding that took me a little bit longer to get past. I feel like whenever you're going heel side and toe side, like y'all saw me, I got heel side down pretty quickly, but it took me a while to get the toe side. And bringing those two together is really like what made it like snowboarding, like what made it kind of me able to navigate down the mountain.
Well, that's like your two like main modes of just moving with the board is either you're on your toes or on your heels, depending on where you're at on the mountain and where you're facing. But yeah, no, you picked it up pretty quickly.
And we all came out pretty unscathed. I hurt my shoulder actually, and like I worked out today, and I actually did like a little bit of chest and tries so that I could test out my shoulder. I didn't do anything heavy, and because it's still been bothering me like a lot. Like even laying down, it's hard for me to. I like to sleep with my hands over my head, so it's hard for me to lift my head up all the way or my hands up all the way. I still feel like some pain there. But it feels relatively like okay. Like it's definitely not something I need to go have looked at. You know, it's something that's going to take some time. I need to be easy with it. And I started doing like different small workouts, very lightweight workouts to try to build up some of those like
strengthen it up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Just some of the tendons and I don't know what all's in the shoulder that I might have messed up a little bit.
So yeah, that might be the only your shoulder. And that's super minor. Might be the only like injury per se.
Yeah, I think so.
That we got.
And like that was minor too because it's not something that you use to snowboard. Like, you know, if I would have hurt my knee or my ankle or something, that would have sucked because that would have made it very difficult for me to keep snowboarding.
Yeah.
Whereas like I just fell on my shoulder. It felt like it kind of popped out and popped back into place. Like I definitely heard something and it hurt for a little while. But it wasn't, I just needed to make sure that if I fell again, I didn't land on it, you know?
Yeah.
So I was pretty fortunate in that. And I think we were all fortunate not to have any bad accidents. And we all had a great time. And
we had a really good
I feel
time.
like I held the group back a little bit, but at the end of it, like we did pretty good, you know, getting down the mountain and making multiple runs.
I got my zoomies in, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, dude, the end of the day, like into the last day, dude, my legs were shaking. Like I literally,
dude, what a workout.
I did the maximum amount of runs that I could possibly do. I literally stopped when like I could not go anymore. And like when I split up from y'all, because y'all did a couple more runs.
Right.
I split up from y'all and went down the hill to like the truck and everything. And dude, my legs were just shaking. Like they could hardly hold myself up. Like when I had to stop and stuff, like it just like my thighs would just immediately almost feel like they want to cramp up. But it was like, that was good. Like that's what I wanted. I wanted to get my maximum amount that I could possibly handle.
Yeah. It was the perfect amount of time spent there. 3 full days. And we made the most of it. You know, we didn't really show up too late each day. You know, our group has a tendency to run late, so that was a factor. But other than that, we really took advantage of the time we had there and made the most out of our lift tickets.
And what was like really cool for me was to be able to like hang out with y'all there, and because I'm really familiar with that area of Colorado, and so like to be able to like hang out with my friends and stuff and kind of show y'all and be there with y'all, like to like a place where I grew up going my whole life, especially that Pagosa Springs place we went to. So like it was just a really cool like. Because I've only gone there with family and like family friends from way back in the day, so to go with y'all was like a really special thing for me. So like I had a fucking blast. Yeah.
If y'all are curious where we went to Durango, Colorado. We drove up there and we stayed with one of our friends' family, Shelby, and we skied at Purgatory. And before we went skiing there, we went over to Pagosa Springs and spent a day there. Really cool hot springs. It was so nice. Like it was cold, snowy, and everything. And just chilling in the hot springs.
Like 20 degrees outside while you're hanging out in like a 109 degree pool.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
like,
it was perfect.
Couldn't ask for more.
You really couldn't. What about New Year's resolutions? You got any?
Man, I don't know.
Wait. I'm sorry. First of all, are you a New Year's resolution guy?
It's not like I don't believe in it. I've never really had one. Like I've never really like written something down where it's like, this is a New Year's resolution. This is what I do want to do this year, or I don't want to do this year. It's just always been a thing where like, for me, if I find something that I don't want to do or I need to take out of my life, I just go ahead and do it. I don't wait for the year to roll around. Like that's not some magic thing for me.
Yeah.
Never has been. But I don't disagree with people that do like say like, okay, during this time, because it's more of like during the beginning of the year or approaching the beginning of the year. That's just kind of when your brain goes to. That's just what our society has like kind of like built into us of like the beginning of the year that start thinking about things you want to change in your life. So that's just when people probably start thinking about those things versus at the middle of the year.
Yeah,
you know,
not you though.
I'm always looking just to improve. You know,
yeah.
But if I had to say like something that I would want this year, man, I don't know. It's obviously things like I want to find, you know, a passion for something that I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That's kind of been like an ongoing thing.
But that's something you're always looking for.
And that's something I'm always looking for. So, but this year, probably, I think I probably would be ready for like a relationship again.
Yeah.
So that's something that like I've kind of thought about, like what I want this year is maybe to get into a relationship, whether that's, you know, sooner or later, maybe even not this year. I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where like you kind of cross that bridge when you get to it, whenever you meet somebody. So that's probably one of my main ones. But two, just, I don't know, try to affect people in a positive way. Like that's something that I really want to like make an effort to do. And I think I've made efforts to do that here recently. Like towards the last little bit of last year, but I want to do more of, however that is, whether it's, community service or something with this podcast, or, just every day here and there trying to make a positive effect on people, because I've found that makes me happy. So to continue to do that. So that's probably my 2, I guess, New Year's resolutions I would want. What about you?
That's pretty good. No, I'd like to hear more about how you're able to impact people, because that's something I'm always looking to do too.
Yeah.
Whether it's just giving someone a handout whenever you see them on the side of the road, there's always like a question of what their intentions are with if you're going to give them cash or food or whatever. But it's something that like I always have a good feeling coming away from. Like once you do that, you're like, like I hope I made a difference in that person's life, or just chatting with people like every now and then whenever you see somebody and telling them, hey, like hope you have a good day, things like that. I'm always looking to do that. So I'd be interested to hear what you're able to do. I think that's a great like New Year's resolution. For me, I'm a New Year's resolution person in the sense of I just like it as a good like time every year to refocus on some goals, try to pick something kind of new, and like make a consistent effort throughout the year. Like especially whenever it comes down to the end of the year, that's where I like start to fall off of things, just because like it's been so long and you get kind of worn out and get bogged down by things. But I kind of put some together. My typical New Year's resolution is to like hold myself accountable for my fitness, and like I don't mean that in the sense of like I try to get like a beach body, washboard abs or anything like that. I just try to be consistent with like what my fitness goals are, which is really fitness. It's really about like remaining fit to do the things that I love to do. Yeah, which is like the hiking and things like that. So I want to be able to continue living an active lifestyle, and for that, I have to be in at a certain level of like fitness and in shape. And I want to continue that because I want that to be like a part of what my family's able to do. I don't ever want to be held back because like I'm not fit enough to do something. I'm not in shape enough to go for like a hike with my family, with my kids. I'm still into mountain biking, so I like getting out and doing that. It's just I would never want that like my health to hold me back from something. So I think the best way to do that is just kind of maintain that year after year.
Dude, I mean that's big, because like people our age, we're healthy and we can kind of get away with not keeping up with our body. We're like, I think people our age, it gets to the end of that ability, because when you're young, you can do whatever and recuperate But we're getting to a point where, 25, but once you start getting into your 30s and 35 and approaching 40, that's where things start to kind of, fall apart, whether you kept up with it or not. And so like I think about those things. I'm the same way, fitness. I'm not trying to squat 4 plates anymore. I'm not trying to, max out on things. I'm just trying to maintain my body, have general fitness and health. That way, because it's an investment. It's an investment what you do now to your body and how you treat it. You're drinking a bunch. I have some friends, man, that they just drink like crazy, and it's just like, man, do you not know like what that's going to do later on? Like it'll come back to bite you in the ass sooner or later.
No, I agree with you. Another thing with like overall health and like shape, I think we're in one of the better times of our lives to do it. Because it's not going to get any easier moving forward, and I've seen a lot of people decline already, and that's only going to get worse as you start getting older. That's just part of it. So you got to kind of head start.
Something really funny though. I was playing poker 2 nights ago with some friends of mine who like I grew up with. We played like sports together and everything, and 2 people like they wanted to arm wrestle, and my friend Cody has always been like, he always wants to arm wrestle people, and he's always been pretty good at it. Like, I've never really seen him lose. Well, he lost. And I just like, he was so like sad. Like, you could tell like it really made him sad. And it was all fun and games, but like you could tell like it was getting to him a little bit. He's like, damn, man, like I lost. Like, I've never really like lost like in a long time. And damn, have I lost it? Like, have I lost like that strength? And I look at him, I go, if you don't use it, you lose it, man. And he's just like, starts doing push-ups.
You're like, all right, I'm changing now.
Yeah.
That's funny. I got friends that are like that. I actually have a running bet with Barry. I have it somewhere in my notes. I think it's like, I don't know, maybe still another 15 years from now. We've got an arm wrestle bet for Halloween of 2030 or something like that. I don't know how long it is.
And he does pretty good with keeping up with his fitness too.
He does. He's blessed. He's got really good genetics that allows him to but also it's a setback because it keeps him pretty small. I can't really count many times that Barry's beat me in an arm wrestle, but we arm wrestle frequently. Not as much now, but we used to a lot. But yeah, so we've got a running bet. I think it's like $100 bet for Halloween of like 2030. So I gotta be preparing for that. So
9
that always
years.
keeps me in check. But I do have a lot of friends. I arm wrestled with Clint whenever we were in Colorado.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. You get to drinking, and men like to be men. And I can arm wrestle. I'll beat you in an arm wrestle. No, you won't. Yeah, well.
Hey, you just chit talk, and then one thing leads to the other, and then one guy loses and starts doing push-ups because he's trying to make up for it.
Yeah. Not to stray too far away from our resolutions, because I got a couple more that I wrote down.
What's up?
So one because that first one is really just something that's like general rule of thumb, always my New Year's resolution. This one is that this year I want to be more informed. It's been a crazy year politically, and I felt like uninformed.
Yeah.
And so I want to try to put more of an emphasis on being informed both politically and then like what's going on locally, not just with like local government, just with like what's going on in Texas, what's going on in Fort Worth, just things to pay attention to. I also want to continue the time I'm spending outside and traveling. We've been doing great. I've been loving it and enjoying it. I just like it brings me a lot of happiness and joy. It also keeps me active, keeps me on my toes, but like I'm getting to see parts of the world too.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up traveling a lot, so like it's just something that I don't want to like fall off. I want to keep that going. Now, one of my New Year's resolutions was to get a new job and start my career.
Well, that's off the table now.
Now that's off the table. I actually signed with the company today, so I've got to thank you, brother. So I've got a new job, and I'll be starting a new career this year. So that's really exciting. So I hope to prosper with that. And then my last one is that I want to cook more. I felt like in the last year I got too reliant on grabbing quick foods or going out to eat, things like that. And I honestly, like, it doesn't bother me like health wise. Like it's not the best, but that doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me like that you spend money doing it, but like I take pride in cooking. I enjoy cooking meals, and like I think that it's important to like set the time aside and cook meals and things like that. And like I'm about to go deer hunting again, and like it's not buck season anymore. You can only shoot a doe, but I'm strictly going out to try to harvest a doe to eat. To get that meat. I guess you can get like a spike or an antlerless buck. But yeah, I'm trying to get basically a freezer deer. Mm-hmm. So with that, I want to experiment more with some wild game, figure some things out, and do some new recipes. I'm going to share that with you, share that with like some of our friends. I'm going to cook for everybody. But yeah, it's just something I want to work on this year, is like start preparing more meals and branch out my palate a little bit. I'm a pretty picky eater.
Dude,
it's pretty plain Jane whenever it comes to me. I'm a meat and no potatoes kind of guy.
Let me tell you, this dude's got the appetite, or at least like the palate of a 7-year-old. He likes his chicken strips. He likes his burger.
You're not wrong. You're not. I can't even be mad at you for it. It's true. No, it's not as bad as some people exaggerate. And I got to say, whenever Shelby's mom cooked us that black-eyed pea casserole, I was a little hesitant going into that. But hey, I went back and got seconds of that. I attribute that to the reason I got this job. I ate 2 helpings of black-eyed pea casserole on New Year's Day.
But did you eat that cabbage?
Nope. So it's only wealth. It's no health this year. I'm in trouble.
That the cabbage didn't taste like anything.
I'm in trouble. I should have tried it because cabbage isn't like bad.
No, it didn't taste like anything.
I mean, like I eat some green. Okay, I take that back. I will eat greens.
Pretty quick, take that back.
I just choose not to for some reason. But like I generally like I'll eat broccoli. I'll eat asparagus. Like I'm fine with those kind of things, But yeah, maybe I'll start working that into my palate a little bit more. And
I think it's easier for us because we don't have a family and stuff, and I'm sure it gets harder whenever you have a lot more responsibilities to or you have a career like nursing, where you're doing 12-hour shifts, and at the end of it, whether you work nights or whatever, to cook afterwards, I'm sure it's a really hard thing to do. But if you have like the opportunity, and there's ways to like cook easy and healthy. It's like what I ate earlier before this podcast, salmon and asparagus, that's really easy to cook. It takes one pan. You can cook it all together, same temperature, same time. And you can even do this. I do like different seasoning on the asparagus versus the salmon, but you can even do the same seasoning, just blanket it. It's so easy, and it's really healthy, and you can even add your own twist to it. Yeah. So there's ways to like easily cook. But I'm happy for that because eating out, like it's not the healthiest. Even when you're doing like healthy options, I feel like it's not the healthiest. Like there's processed stuff within all that kind of thing, for the most part. But yeah, cooking at home, for me, I enjoy it. It's like kind of therapeutic. I like doing it. I like cooking, and cleaning as I do it. It's something that's like my OCD-ness really likes.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it.
I enjoy cooking. I really do. I just need to make it like more of a priority because it's like a time consuming thing. That's the thing is like I've been working this Amazon job, so like I don't feel like I had the time.
Right, like you have like that weird schedule. So
yeah,
that makes it hard to cook.
Ruined things, made it very difficult. Yeah. But now with the new job, that's like one of my things. So I'm gonna get my job schedule, my workout schedule, and like hopefully a weekday cooking schedule. Also, I got Macy this air fryer for Christmas. So we're looking for like new recipes. If anybody's got suggestions, let me know. But we're looking for new recipes and going to try some things out with the air fryer and mix up what we eat a little bit. So I'm excited for that. Of course, the grill is like my go-to. I love grilling stuff outside.
Yeah, you're the grill master, man. You use the hell out of that Traeger.
No, I love it. It's easy, but it's also like, I don't know. I mean, I enjoy grilling too, like on propane, like just a grill like I used to have, but something about it, it's easy, and there's a good variety of things you can do with it. And it's not expensive. It's not difficult. It does I don't think it does the work for you. I think that there's like a lot more to go into it, but that's what gets exciting to me. Like the other day, whenever I made us some steaks, and like I seared them with the cast iron in the Traeger, and like let it get really hot, and like seared them and cooked them. Like, I don't know. I just like, I enjoy things like that, and like really kind of fine tuning it. Like I make that like seasoned butter that's really good on top of them, and just then being able to have like a product, basically like a meal that you're proud of and tastes really great. It's like a double win. And
then you add that onto meat that you know where it came from. Like
that's what's going to be really cool.
Or like you bought it from a local butcher or something like that. Like that, I think adds to the flavor, whether or not, it might taste the same as a steak you might buy, but to know where it came from, I think that adds to it. Because like I've grown up eating like pigs and stuff, and deer and some cows that we knew the person that had it, or we had it and we butchered it, and so it's just like, I don't know, it's whether you think that's morbid or not, it adds to like the experience of eating the food.
Yeah,
and just knowing where it came from. Because like nowadays, like there's health concerns with like, where is this food actually coming from? How is it processed? What are they putting into it? Some things, like when they label it this, it's actually not that,
Yeah, or if you're just against factory farming, or
that too.
Ethical treatment of animals. Like one of the most ethical ways to harvest an animal in the wild is by a hunter killing it. Because if you got to think about it, if I'm not out there killing the animal, what are the other ways that it's going to die?
Yeah.
You know that it's less than 1% of animals in the wild that die from old age. It's almost negligible, really, if you look into studies. Like there's almost no evidence that of a general percentage of animals that live and die because of old age. So they either die because of predators, so they're going to get attacked and killed by like wolves or coyotes or whatever the predator may be. That's not a good way to go. Or they're going to die from starvation. Yeah, that's going to take weeks. Or at least I think 2 to 3 weeks probably for an animal to die of starvation. That's a pretty painful death and long.
Well, you get like one hindrance, like for an animal to get like one hindrance, like a broken leg or whatever. That'll take
you're Kyle bait from there.
Yeah.
Or they're gonna die of disease, which is again a couple weeks probably, if not longer, of painful suffering. The disease may lead them to die of starvation. The disease may lead them to be killed by coyotes or wolves or whatever it is. So like with those being the other options, I think, me or a hunter putting either like a well-placed arrow or a bullet in them is going to be a quick death that I think is inarguably the most humane, ethical way for them to die.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like as a hunter, like you get to take pride in taking that animal's life in like a respectable and responsible, ethical way versus the other options of them living. And then that's ethically sourced meat too. That's also grass fed and free ranged, in the sense of if you're against factory farming, which I'm not against factory farming either, just because I think that there's a whole process for that, but we won't get into that. That just comes from my background of raising livestock for market. So I understand a little bit of it too, but that's where I stand as far as like what And like I've been getting excited to go hunting and stuff, so I've been listening to like a lot of like Meat Eater podcast and watching different like YouTube stuff. So obviously that impacts like my mindset, but that's where I stand. So I'm excited for it, and I think that's something I want to incorporate this year. And I look forward to adding that into what I'm able to cook and provide for, me, Macy, my friends, my family, everything. So that's exciting.
I'll be excited to try out the meat that you kill and cook.
Yeah, I definitely will let you have some. Hey, that's all in the hope that I get a deer.
Yeah, you gotta get one
I
first.
I still gotta do that. I passed up my hunting opportunity to go this weekend, right? I was supposed to go this past weekend, but Mace's friend they were having a wedding shower, so we wanted to stay and go to that. And then also with me getting a new job, I ended up having free time during the week. So I was like, I'll just go during the week. And of course, I'm not there. I checked the game camera, and there was like multiple deer out there in daylight, good shooting hours. Now, the weather was not great because it snowed, so that was not a place I wanted to be sitting early in the morning, but I think I would have harvested one that night. So I don't know, maybe I missed my chance, but I got good hope for going this week. And it's going to be the first year that I harvest with my bow if I'm successful. So I'm very excited for that and hopeful. Now, I want to say something because this is something I did last year, and I'm going to do it again this year. And it's really kind of helped me not just stay accountable, but keep a good mindset throughout the year.
So this is back to your New Year's resolution.
New Year's resolution, sorry. I set reminders on my phone, and I don't set them for every day. I set them spaced out for every 3 days. And like a new one will pop up at a different time.
Yeah.
So like this one, it comes up daily. It's a 6 a.m. reminder. It comes up daily. And I started this at the beginning of 2020, and I just haven't changed it yet. I'm probably going to change it this week. But it says 2019 killed it. 2020 is next level. I did feel like I did really good in 2019. In 2020, I was really hoping to do better. In different aspects, I think that I killed it. Sometimes, though, like things just didn't work out, and that's part of it.
Man, I think for like me and you, though, too, we can still, and this is a good or bad thing, we can be doing good and still be hard on ourselves.
Thinking, of course. But that's how you progress. That's how you keep moving forward. If you can't get complacent, even though like you're doing good. So definitely.
Yeah.
And then that was like the title under that one, which my other ones don't have that. They're just the title. But under that one, it says, don't believe the hype. Work for the days you will have wished that you worked harder.
Yeah.
So like on the days that you're just not feeling it, well, those are the days that you look back and like, oh, I wish I would have worked harder yesterday. I wish I wouldn't have wasted the day. So I tried to make that like a mindset. And that one I got that reminder every morning at 6 a.m., which was usually before I'd wake up or when I was getting up. So it was nice to like have that, like I would have to physically clear it every day. And some days I definitely like ignored it, overlooked it because I knew exactly what it said. But there were a lot of days that I was thankful that was a reminder because I was like, you know what? Like I do need to like, this is 2020. I'm trying to make it next level. This is like, I do need to like work harder for the days. This is going to be one of those days that I look back and say, no, I took advantage of that day. That was good. The other things that I have is that nobody cares, work harder. That's a quote that I got from, I believe, Cam Haynes. Yes, it's on my mirror right here behind me too. And it's just, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like on the outside looking in, like who really cares what you're doing? No one cares but yourself.
Yeah.
So work harder for yourself. And that's one that comes like on the 3-day rotation at like 7:30 in the morning. And then the last one, which is like, to me was like my most impactful one throughout the year. And it was 7:20 at night, every 3 days. And it was just prioritize happy living. Because at the end of the day, what are you living for? Like I don't even know what you're living for, but you only get one life. And if you're not having a happy life, what are you doing? So that was like something and I'll probably leave that one just because I really think that's super important that you just, whatever it is you're doing, prioritize happy living. That doesn't mean go spend all your money going out and having a good time on cars, things like that. Yeah, be responsible about it.
And the thing is about like living a happy life, that doesn't discount the struggle that's going to come with that. Sometimes even searching for that happy life will bring more struggle, So like
it can't be because you get down on you're like, I wanted so much and you're not getting it. But there's also a process to get there. Or
if like there's something that's off in the distance that I want for my life, and to get there, I'm going to have to bust my ass, go through shit, get depressed. So it's not going to go without the hard stuff. Like I don't believe in life that you can just escape any of that. I don't care how successful you are and how easy, people think people have it, like looking at celebrities or something. Like everybody goes through shit at whatever level. And so, looking at and just kind of reminding yourself that like, oh man, like I feel this way today, but I've been like, you know, trying to get better and trying to like live a happy life. Why do I feel this way? Well, like that stuff's still going to be there, you know, but it'll get easier. You know, like the closer you get to, you know, that happy life, whatever that is for you, that'll get easier to handle. Like, it's not like it's going to go away, but it'll get easier to handle. Like those bad days, those days where you wake up and you don't feel the best, and I don't want to work out. I don't want to, you know, do my due diligence for the business I'm trying to start. You know, those days are going to come, but if that really matters to you, whatever that is, you know, working out, fitness, starting a business, starting whatever, you know, it'll become easier to deal with that hard stuff.
Yeah.
But it's always going to be there.
It's always going to be there. And I was listening to, I think it was a Rogan podcast. He had some guys on the other day that one of them was like a retired Army guy, and he had struggled with some depression and things like that. And he was saying that it doesn't matter where you're at, like in your highs, if you're a celebrity, if you're famous, if you're rich, whatever. Yeah. Your very low lows at the end of the day inside your head, like they all feel the same. You all feel like you're in the worst place possible, and there's no way out. And like it just feels like darkness is consuming you. Yep. And I think that that's true. So keep that in mind. Like, yeah, like other people may have like really great lives, or at least portray that on their social media or whatever, and they may have really great aspects about it, but they probably go through some of the same battles that you go through. Yeah. And some of the same insecurities and struggles and the low points. So don't ever let that just kind of go unnoticed. You know, you're not the only one, but you got to get through that. I would say that, thinking back on the New Year's thing, I think the New Year's resolutions are great, especially if like you're one that wants to put some thought into making some. I think it just like lets you realign your mentality and like what you expect out of the future, and try to set goals for yourself. I'm always an advocate for setting goals for yourself, stuff like that. But I think two things. I think you should consider making reminders, because like I said, it was something I did last year, and I did it literally the entire year. I made those like at the very beginning of the year, the same way I'm going to do them this year. And there was multiple times that it stuck out to me that like I was really glad I did that. I think that's a really cool thing. Just make the reminders, you know, close them out every day, every 3 days, 5 days, however often you set them. And don't delete them. Just, it may be like kind of a little bit of annoyance they pop up, but just close them out.
Or put a sticky on like your mirror, you know, in your bathroom.
Yeah, or whatever.
Like something, you know,
something that's there. I did it on my phone with the reminders, because like it's something that pops up every day. I have to look at it. I actually have to click it, and you have to mark it as completed. That's another thing too. So mentally, that was like a thing. Like mentally, I struggled with marking it as completed if I didn't complete that, or if I didn't feel like I understood that or took that in some way. Yeah. Another thing I was thinking though that you should really do that is kind of cool, because I was looking back today through some pictures, and you know, Macy had sent me over some pictures of like our California trip just randomly, and different things we were talking about and reminiscing on. But go back a year from now in your camera roll and look through all the pictures of 2020, because 2020 was a hard year for a lot of people. But like as I've looked through like some of my pictures from 2020, it highlights a lot of happy times, a lot of great memories. Yeah. And it makes you, I feel like, be a little bit more appreciative and look on the bright side of things, because there were so many great things that like we like experienced, I know, and so many great things that I was like able to do going out and traveling and stuff. But like, you know, for example, and like I love that about Snapchat, giving you the memories from like a year ago too. But like, you know, we started this podcast last year. Yeah. We took pictures and like made like our profile little picture and things. We took pictures recently and like took pictures on all of the trips I've been on. There was so much cool things that came out of it that you almost forget about, because like it's been a whole year, you know.
I think it's the last podcast that I talked about this. Whenever I look back at 2020 and the things that happened, I do have this like sense of like fondness, or like a nostalgic feeling. Yeah. Because there was a lot of really good things that came out of it, amongst, you know, some of the bad things. The good things really do kind of stand out. I think since it happened around a lot of weirdness and a lot of craziness, like it probably, even when you start thinking about the good things, like they actually do feel like you get a full sense of, you know, what that meant. And when they're right beside something that was like either really bad or just kind of, you know, because there was a lot of that last year too.
Yeah, there certainly was, but I don't know. There's just a lot to take out, and like a lot of it I forgot about until you go back and you scroll through just your. For me, my camera roll is a good way to capture like a lot of the good times. You know, I don't take pictures of the bad times. Not a lot of times the bad times may not be something you can even take a picture of, but I take a lot of pictures of the good times, things I want to remember, and there was certainly a lot of them in the last year. So there's lots to be thankful for, and a lot of them I don't ever think about. Like I kind of forget about. But if you go back through and just scroll through your camera roll, there's there's a lot that I see, at least in mine, to be thankful for those experiences, and a lot to look forward to in the future too.
I do like something that's really important to kind of put out there, especially when you're talking about like New Year's resolutions and goals that you want for yourself, is to obviously dream big. I'm a huge proponent of, dreaming big and thinking big things for yourself, because I truly believe that for myself. Like I think I want to do and I can do big things with my life and the talents that I have. Even though I'm figuring it out, I do believe that I will get there. But it's to remind yourself and to kind of keep it in perspective of, it's gonna incremental steps. Don't think that, depending on what the goals are, 6 months down the road, are you going to achieve all of it? Probably not. It's going to take small steps to get there. And sometimes it's going to feel like you're stagnated. And then there's going to be days where you feel like you've made major progress. But I think one of the biggest things that keep people from sticking to like these New Year's resolutions and these things that they have for themselves is they kind of look, obviously you want to look towards the end goal, but they focus on it so much and compare it to where they're at now.
Yeah, that it's so far away.
It shrinks them down and hurts their ability to have motivation towards it, and to like keep that in mind of just the little progression that it'll take to get to wherever you're trying to go with whatever you're trying to do. That's just something to really keep in mind. It's just like, obviously I bring up working out a lot, but it's taught me so many things. It's like, if you want to get into fitness and you want to be able to, bench a certain amount, that first day you're going to get in there, you're not going to be able to bench even close to it. And you're going to be sore. You're going to be really sore that first couple of weeks, that first month. It's going to hurt. And so it's just like, but you're progressing towards whatever that fitness goal is, just in this one instance, in this example. But it's just to kind of keep it in perspective as to like, it's going to take these small steps to get from A to B. That's really important.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's
keep on track.
Same if you're going to start a career, like me, like I'm going back into a new company, starting a career. Like I got to work my way up. I'm not just going to move up, first day. I'm not going to get in there and just move up. I got to prove myself. I got to show my potential. I got a lot to learn too. There's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
If you're building a house, you gotta lay the foundation first. And you gotta put it up brick by brick. Like you gotta build you got the framework.
Yeah.
Do the framing. Like there's a lot that goes into it. You don't just build a house in one day.
Yeah. And it's our personalities. We want to build a house in one day.
Right.
Like,
You're just so ambitious that you're ready to get out there and just take it and you can do it. Like, oh, I know I can build a house. Definitely.
It's like, I know I want whatever role that I have later on in my career, whatever that is, I want that leadership role because that's what I want. I've always wanted that. And I've done leadership type roles before and I've enjoyed it. But, we're early on in our careers. We're not going to have that leadership position just yet. Very rarely at the beginning of your careers do you have a leadership type position unless something happens or, you show yourself to be able to do it at a young age. But chances are, at least at the very beginning of careers, like you're not going to be in that leadership position.
Even if you're qualified for it.
Yeah. Even if you have what it takes and you believe in yourself enough and the system that you might be in might say otherwise. Like, no, you have to put in the time to get to this point, Yeah,
so. No, I saw that with my Amazon job. It was just a warehouse job, and like I had a degree and I was qualified for, moving up to an L3 position or an L4 position, but I was an L1 because that's where you start out at. And it didn't, like it mattered that I had a degree and experience, that like I had a general understanding of how things work whenever I got in there quickly, but I still, took months just to learn all the ins and outs of like where I was at. And so, like, I got a little bit of promotion, like, the first month I worked there. And from there, I built up. And they were giving me another promotion. They were offering me another promotion whenever I just quit, just because I got this other opportunity. But it was still, progress. But I had to work there for long enough, regardless of, like, my qualifications. And, like, I definitely could take over the spot. And I'd feel comfortable going into the position they were offering me and moving up. But, like, it took months for me just to learn the whole process that I had to move into.
Yeah.
Things like that, like it just goes to show, it's not something you can just do in one day, regardless of like where you're at. Like the people I was working with, like I may have been more qualified than them, but like still there's like a time lapse of learning and getting into that position and understanding it and being value and just, proving yourself. They had to know that I was going to show up to work every day. It was a night shift job. It was very difficult to show up to work every day on time.
And it's too like, and this is me personally, just, with faith and everything and what I believe in, it's kind of understanding and reminding yourself that the process and trusting the process, knowing that maybe, it's like in my situation, am I super happy with the position I'm in? Like, yes, I'm overly ambitious, so I want to get to whatever top or whatever. But the position I am now, I got to remember there's things I'm learning, whether it's subconsciously or consciously. Like, there's things that are happening in the position I'm in that I'm learning things. I'm picking up on things. I'm seeing how people work in an organization, the flaws with it, the good things with it. So, and I've worked for 2 different companies that are drastically different on how they handle the organization and the inner works and how the different groups all work together. And I'm gotten to a point where I'm like handling my own stuff. Like I have ownership. My last job, I was just the grunt work. I was just working. I was helping a project manager get his stuff so he could submit it or whatever he was doing. Now I take ownership of my projects. I'm the one that keeps it on time. I'm the one that's doing the design. So yeah, even though I'm not happy with where I'm at necessarily, I'm still learning a lot. And so it's just like one of those things where I have to remind myself, trust the process.
Well, that, and there's still going to be a lot to be learned, even though, like, you may not have issues that come up every day. You might have an issue, like one particular issue that will happen in a year from now that you never have experience with.
Yeah.
At that point, you may be like in more of a leadership role, or you may not be, or whatever, but you may be something you have to deal with. And like that may be something that only happens every couple years. That's just a random out of the blue. And if you were to just immediately move up to other positions, you wouldn't know how to handle things like that.
Yeah.
Because like it's not always going to be cookie cutter day in and day out. You're going to have the same issues that you have to solve and the same things that you're working on. So that's another part of it too. It's just time, that it takes to be able to see all these different things that could happen.
Yeah. And experience is invaluable when it comes to
an example too. I mean, we got hit with coronavirus, like we got hit with a global pandemic that no one had ever dealt with before.
So how are you going to adapt to that?
Yeah, but now you've grown through that, and now you understand that. Just adds a little bit to kind of your resume and to your mental log of things you know how to deal with. Now if things go wrong, you can work from home.
Yeah,
you have new challenges that you were able to overcome.
And to like give yourself some self-love, think back into the things that you've accomplished and the things that you've learned, whether that was you learned it the hard way or not. Like that's like a reason to pat yourself on the back.
Hell yeah.
And that's just self-love of like, oh, I went through that, I figured it out. Like maybe I made a few mistakes, but I found my way through. And it's just like, obviously look towards the future and pay attention to the mistakes, but give yourself some love as to like, basically for all of us, man, like 2020, like the things that we've gone through, and then whether that was really, really bad or not that bad or just whatever, we all went through some kind of something this year. I think humanity as a whole did. So just look back at this just year as an example, but you can do this like throughout your whole life. Look back and say like, yeah, like I think I did that pretty well. Like that's just something.
Give yourself some credit.
Yeah, give yourself some fucking credit. It's worth it.
I couldn't agree more.
And it'll help you, when you start looking towards the future or whatever you're trying to do. That gives you that boost. That gives you the fuel to keep going. So I think that's just something that like I want to carry throughout. Maybe add that to my New Year's resolution is just to continue to remind myself and to give myself a little bit more credit as to the things that I've done, because man, I can get hard on myself. Like I can get very hard.
Well, that's why that was like I put a lot of thought into my reminders, and that's why one of them was 2019 you killed it. Like that was the start of it. It was 2019 you killed it. But 2020 is the next level. So 2021, 2020 you made it through. But 2021, that's growth.
Yeah.
That's opportunity, things like that. But we did make it through 2020.
Right.
Like I like me especially, I had some hardships whenever it came to like my finances and like going through big changes and the uncertainties of the jobs I was working and the startup and the crash and all that. So that was a lot to make it through. But damn it, I made it through, and look at now. starting out fresh. I've got a lot of good opportunity. I'm in a good position again.
Hell yeah.
Let's go out there and get it.
Dude, I like talking about this stuff. It just gets me it gets me pumped. Like, it gets me going for and like hearing you talk about the things that you've learned and like some of the things that you want to look forward to and the things that you want to do in the future, and like hearing like myself talk about some of these things. Like, I think it's good. It's healthy. Like it gives me like energy. Like I want to go out right now and start doing whatever. So like, I think talking about it with your friends and like the people that you love and care about and support you, like that does good. Whether however silly you think you're going to sound whenever you tell people your goals or whatever, like it's good to do that, especially with people that
speak it into existence. If you're one of those people that believes in that, do it. Like talk about it.
Yeah.
Put it, like I'm telling you, put it in your phone. Put that reminder in there. Mm-hmm. Remind yourself constantly.
Write it down. Do something. Put it down. Make it physical.
Goals, whatever it takes. Just talking about it with somebody, and talk about it with a good friend that's going to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Talk about it with somebody who's going to look back. That's one of the best things about this podcast, because we can always look back and listen to us talking about this. We can listen to it in 8 months from now, and maybe we should like set a reminder. I like to set calendar reminders and say, hey, go back and listen to this episode. Where are you at? Are you still staying true to what you said? You know, be real with yourself. Like, is this something you're holding yourself accountable for or not? Did you fall off?
Yeah.
Maybe that should be a 6-month goal is to recheck, do a halfway through the year type of, recommitment. Make sure you're still like on track. Hell yeah, then we're all going to get out there and kill it. That's what 2021 is going to be about.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. You just want to end it there and go to the next segment?
Hey, I mean, we can go straight into some current events from here, but I think kind of we want to talk a little bit about, you splurged a little bit whenever we were in Colorado.
So, dude, I treated myself, man. So I've been looking for one for a while, and it's been like a little crazy. Some of the products this year, towards the end, like the PlayStation and stuff, like
that was holiday season.
They've been short, or like even more so, like just with like shipping and just these type of things specifically, because it's like with the lockdown and people in their homes all the time, I think it's exacerbated some of the buying of these things and made them more popular. But I bought a VR. I bought an Oculus Quest 2.
Guys, I'll tell you exactly what happened, because I was with him in Colorado when this shit happened. Stimulus check hit the account. Blake went to Walmart and bought Oculus Quest. That's what happened. That's
part of the reason. Actually, the stimulus check hit the day after.
That Trump stimmy came in, and Blake spent it immediately.
So I was debating, because like I grew up playing video games, but I haven't really been playing like recently within the last couple of years. I kind of fell off, and so like this was something kind of new. It's video gamey, and just I was always interested in it and never really tried it until like we were having Christmas. My uncle brought it over.
Who did?
So my uncle.
Oh, okay.
And so like we were all like playing with it and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. And so they were all sold out everywhere, and so we were up in Colorado. We went to Walmart to get some food or something for the night, and I just was like, well, I'll just see if they have one. And so I went back there, and sure enough, they have one. So I was like, no, I'm just gonna buy it right now.
Yeah.
And so I've been messing around with the VR, and it's impressive. It really gets my brain going as to like thinking about the future of just technology in general, but this specific type of technology, this VR, and I don't know if anybody has tried it or not. If you have a chance to try it out, it's to a point now where it's not a gimmick anymore. It's not kind of like this thing that's kind of cool. A lot of the kinks work out. Obviously, there's a long way to go, but to the point where it's at now, I think it's to a point where like almost everybody can try it and use it and be impressed.
I was very impressed. That's not my first time, dabbling with VR either, because Colt and I went to that Evo place in San Marcos, and they have like a little entertainment section. It was like, dude, I want to say it was like maybe $30 for an hour, and we split it, and we just played VR there. It was really cool, and like I was blown away by it, but it didn't feel the same because it was like at an event place. You had to go there and play it. But then like you getting that, and literally we set it up in Colorado, very simple. Right, put it on, draw your little map, and like I was impressed with it. Just the things you could do. We didn't even play many of the games. I know you've done a lot more since it. What are you doing Thursday? I'm gonna come over. We're gonna hang out and play VR, because I want to get more into it. It seems so cool.
One of the funniest things so far of having it, and I brought it over to the poker night a couple nights ago. It's really fun to show people this, and because not everybody is paying attention to this kind of thing. to show people and to see the reaction. Like when I said like my uncle had bought one, brought it to Christmas, and so my grandmother was born in the 30s or 40s.
Okay.
She's lived a very long life. She's seen pre-technology, what we know now
100%.
to this, right?
Yeah.
And I think VR is one of those, like, it's showing VR at the state it's at now is showing it's one of the pinnacles of like where we're at technology wise and what we're able to do. And it's the version that I bought. There's even crazier versions that you have to have high power computers to do, but this is like a standalone. It's super cool.
Well, I think that's what's so impressive about it, right? Is because it's literally something that almost anybody can
standalone.
It's not crazy expensive compared to other gaming systems. You can take it from the store, take it home, set it up, and have it.
Yeah.
And you can move it from one room to another. Like it is very like accessible, and like it's giving, like what you're talking about, you're showing it to somebody or whatever, it's giving them an experience though.
Yeah.
That is so new, right? This is not something that we really have experienced before. It's not something that's just been around at the accessibility.
It's getting to
it's
getting to the point where it's becoming a mass market thing. Its potential is to where a lot of people can have this.
It will be a standard in kids' home whenever I'm at the point that I'm
absolutely. I will put money on this becoming such a crucial tool that we'll use, and it's gonna become smaller. It's gonna be more compact. Like once technology catches up to what this can go to, you're gonna be wearing glasses. That's gonna be able to do with this VR, and this thing is a little bulky, but I mean you don't really feel it when it's on. It just feels like you're wearing goggles. But like what I was saying with my grandma, watching her try that and just to see the amazement, it was almost like she couldn't handle it. It just was like, this is so mind-blowing, and this is such a new thing. The way it tricks your brain and how it puts you in an environment that you're closed. It's like weird whenever you play it for a while. Like I was playing it for like maybe like 30 minutes. I took it off, and it's like, whoa, like, okay, I'm in my living room.
Yeah.
And this whole time I was in a putt-putt course playing 18 holes, in the desert, in this like Mojave looking desert on cliffs, and being able to like putt, like, and you just get like, you get in it, like you get immersed, and then like you take it off, like, oh, I was in my living room. So that's a really trippy feeling. But yeah, to watch my grandma experience that, and then like my mom and my dad tried it, all my aunts and uncles tried it. And it's an amazing thing, and that's one of the reasons why I bought it, was to show people this, because like this is something that if you don't pay attention to it, it's gonna get away. It's gonna be like people with cell phones that are a little bit older.
You'll get behind quick.
You'll get behind, and it's just like one of those things where, and like we were doing the startup community things, meetups and stuff, and there was this one lady that had a company that they were doing rehab with it.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a really cool idea.
And
now it makes more sense now that I've like experienced with it a little bit more. It definitely makes like more sense.
So it's like not even just games. It's things that you're able to do. Use it as a tool. They were saying burn victims. So what they would do is they would put the VR headset on them. They would put them in like a cold environment, like a snowy environment. They put them in like a 3D thing of like them standing in the Arctic. And it would help with the pain, because like your sensory, your visual is seeing cold, and it kind of helps
tricking your brain.
Yeah, obviously it's probably not going to help 100%, but they did like notice pain thresholds changing when they put that on. And so there's going to be major advances in this, and it's so cool, like to see where it's at now, and it's relatively young and it's relatively new, but to the point that it's at now, like we've made some huge leaps and bounds.
Yeah, it's going to have a lot of different avenues that it's going to go. One thing is cool. I kind of forgot about this. So whenever we went to the startup crawl in Austin last year, they had a VR setup, like it was a gun.
Yeah.
And it was like it wasn't anything like what yours is, but it was similar headset wise. You put on a headset, it had like sounds, and it like submerses you in this like world, kind of like you're in a Call of Duty game.
Yeah.
But they had a weighted AR gun that you used, and like the thing was set up for like battle, and you had like zombies coming at you, right?
Yeah.
And you shoot them. But what they were saying that some of the uses was this company, what they were targeting the use for was going into the army and giving this as like real world like training experience to be able to put them in a situation where they're seeing whatever the combative situation is that they're going into. They can set up and build. Army bases now still have like towns that they build that they go into and do simulations.
Yeah.
And they could do the same thing, but they don't have to build a whole town just to do it now. They could probably say, hey, we have this terrorist in this location, or we're fighting this group, whatever it may be, and this is the house that they're living in. Well, now they can go replicate that exact home, every feature they know about it based off drone footage, stuff like that, and they can say, okay, troops, like this is how we're going to go in, this is how you're going to capture the guy, and they can set up a simulation that is going to be identical to what they're going into, and they can get to a much more realistic, like real world experience going in, and they can run that operation 100 times before they actually put bodies on the ground and put lives in danger. They can actually run that through. So that was, to me, that was really cool, and that was definitely like the future of like Army training.
Think about drones. Think about drone pilots. They'll be able to put that on and probably fly more than just drones, but like fighter planes where they don't have to be in it, but they can put that on.
And they already do a lot of stuff very
look
similar to
and
that.
look around like they're in the cockpit. It's just it's the applications are endless. There's already some companies that are excuse me, that are creating these omnidirectional treadmills. And so it's these treadmills that basically lock you in the center, and you can run in any direction and not go anywhere. So it's like add that on top of the VR goggles with the controllers, and
you're getting very realistic.
Now you're getting very realistic. Now you can run
tired.
places. Now you get an actual workout. So and that too, like being able to work out. There's this guy that did, and his videos on YouTube, and he spent, I believe, a month straight in VR. And this was a while ago, so it wasn't to the point where it's at now. But he spent a month there in VR. The only time he ever took it off was to go to bed, and he would immediately take it off and put one of the sleeping masks on. But anytime he was awake, boom, he put that thing on. And he would do different things, like he would do yoga, and it'd be like you're in a group, like with real people that are doing VR too, and you're doing yoga poses, and it's tracking it, and like you're in a group. There's an actual instructor up at the very front. Everybody's there,
so
a little avatar
for like a month.
Yeah, he'd go on little nature walks, and his was a little bit more high powered. I think his one you have to like have a computer to run it.
Yeah.
So like he was able to go on nature walks. He was able to just do different things, and obviously it was an experiment to see mentally just how it affects you, and it's a little weird when you spend that amount of time in it. But it just goes to show you that like there's a lot of options that you can do. There's things and there's arguments of like, is VR good? Like, is it gonna take us out of the real world? Is it gonna? And yeah, maybe to a certain extent, that can be the case. But there was another argument, and this guy came on Joe Rogan's actually and talked about it. That it's gonna give people that don't have the funds or the ability to experience some of these things, the ability to get as close as they can.
Yeah.
It's like people
agree.
that might not be able to afford to go to a ski trip. Maybe they put on that VR and they play this, skating game, or the skiing or snowboarding game. And it's just like, it gives them the ability to get as close as they can. People that live in, third world countries that might be able to have it once these things come down to where they're affordable, to where they're like cell phones. Everybody has one. It's going to be able to give people that live in poverty or live in, places that aren't accessible to some of these experiences. Now they're going to be able to do that and see what it's like.
If something like COVID happens again, and you're not able to travel or whatever, maybe you need a little bit of that escape. I believe that if we were maybe 15 years down the road where this is a pretty, common thing, like a household item, right? Yeah. Kids would be going to school in VR whenever COVID hit. And you can't get in the classroom.
Working from home. You'd be doing business meetings,
100%.
In a boardroom, in
everybody's sitting
virtual
there.
Boardroom. Everybody's sitting there. It feels a little bit more collaborative.
Obviously, it's not the same, but it's closer. It's closer, definitely.
So it's just like when you start thinking about the opportunities and just the potential with this thing.
Think about too, this is kind of interesting. Think about like what the dating scene is going to be like for that, right? So I don't know what kind of like dating apps you may be or may not be using, but think about the people that are using Tinder to find like relationships and stuff. That is kind of scary though too, because a lot could go wrong. You don't know these people that you're meeting up with. Well, you could have virtual reality dates
Yeah.
where there's no chance of you getting kidnapped and raped.
Yeah.
There's no chance of sex trafficking from the person that you're meeting that you have no idea who this person is.
Mm-hmm.
You get to have an actual experience with them one-on-one. You get to see like who they are
Yeah.
and talk to them, and it doesn't have to be over dinner, but it could just be like a meeting, and you could get to like know these people before you actually have to go out and meet them physically, and that could be a lot safer.
There's this one game, and it's a dancing game. It comes preloaded on the Oculus, but there's a little robot guy standing in front of you, and it's just weird because it feels like he's right there. And so yeah, like if there's like an actual person that you might be going on a date with or just talking to, there's tons of chat rooms where you can just go. It's Rec Room VR, and it's free, and it's just like it's you can do everything. You can go to a movie with people and sit next to them and watch a big screen, movie.
Can't you watch like you can sit courtside at basketball games, things like that?
Things like that. It's just like it's already available, and just the potential. Like that's what amazes me is the potential for this.
Dude, I'm with you. I think it's super exciting, but please don't get too lonely and get a VR girlfriend.
No.
Don't have a virtual girl.
No, there's some things that it just cannot replace.
You and I talked about this a long time ago about the opportunity that VR is going to bring to like podcasts and things where you're able to sit in and listen basically to. I mean, we already have podcasts, right, where you can visually watch them having the conversation.
But think about sitting down live. With them. You're sitting at the table.
Same with live streaming, video games, Twitch, all that streaming
think
stuff.
Think about
just
sitting down
with them.
Sitting down next to Joe Rogan.
I mean, maybe they could answer, but yeah, it's
right
crazy.
there at the table, and the guest is right there, right next to you.
See how short he really is.
Yeah, and you see Jamie over there behind the like.
It'd be cool.
The potential, but for that,
it'd be awesome,
courtside seating, being able to go to
it's gonna be a
sporting
thing for
event. Sure. Yeah, and it's just gonna get there. It's gonna be one of those, and it's something that I really want to pay attention to. And I really want to, if there's an ability for me to get in early some way, somehow, or, because, I mean, it's not early anymore. Like, it's pretty established. But it's early enough to where, you can be innovative with this stuff.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we just throughout this, we've talked about a lot of interesting ideas, Another thing I really just remembered that I did that was basically VR, and this was while I was in high school. This was a long time ago. This was probably 2014.
Mm-hmm.
I went to this trade show. There was like a welding trade show because I was in welding classes, and they had a VR welding game there that you put the hood on and you run a bead, and it was like who can make the best bead. But from that, I'm thinking, there's a lot of trade skills that you can learn from VR. Yeah. That you don't have to pay money to go to a trade school if you could just buy the VR game or the VR learning class. Yeah. You could learn to weld. You could learn to work on cars.
There is one I don't know if it's available on the one that I have, but there is a VR where you're a mechanic and you
exactly.
You actually change the parts out.
You could learn a lot. You could learn very realistic stuff. They could implement this in medical school and stuff, where instead of, we've all done the dissecting a frog in high school or dissecting something, but you could essentially dissect a person without harming anybody or having to have any. Actually,
I can't remember if it was like a video or something that I read, but it was talking about virtual surgeries. So it's so you're going to be able to have a doctor that instead of having to fly them in, wherever they're at, they can log in and do it from there. So it's going to make a availability increase of who can we have, who do we want as a surgeon, because that's sometimes something that you have to really put thought into, who's going to be my surgeon for this operation. And there was this video of these little robots, these little robot hands that were dissecting a grape.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
And stitching it back together, they peeled the skin off of the grape perfectly.
Off. Yep.
And then stitched it back together perfectly. And it's just wow, that our ability and what we've been able to create technology wise is freaky, it's scary, but it's amazing.
And it's just the beginning. There's so much growth.
I take it back to my grandma from when she was born to now. And the progression that we've made technology-wise, what's it going to be like for us?
Oh yeah,
when we're her
at the
age,
perfect age.
When we're
I can barely remember not having phones.
When we're 86 years old, where we're going to be?
Yeah, Yeah, it's going to be insane.
And it's something that I want to keep up with. I don't want it to get, and I think technology for us is different than, like older people now. I think we've been around it so much, like we're just going to continually keep up with it better.
Well, I think it relates a little bit to how older people kept up with cars.
Yeah.
If you just, I think generally, if you look at the older population, they know more mechanically about how cars work and how cars were developed, because that was something that was very impactful to their lives, that they grew up in, experiencing cars being developed and cars being widespreadly used.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, it's been phones and technology, it's been internet, things like that. I feel like older people understand a 4-stroke engine versus a 2-stroke engine, how a carbureted engine works, how a carburetor works in general, things like that. I would not understand that if I wasn't a mechanical engineer and had a little bit of an interest in cars and dabbled in fixing up an old motorcycle, things like that. A lot of people our age and a lot of the younger generation are not going to understand that. But older people do, because I think that's something that they experience. I think for us, we've experienced the introduction of internet technology. We've experienced a lot more, and we're going to continue to experience a lot more. But we've kind of grown up in it, so we're capable of taking in everything that we're learning and understanding and applying it.
It's like I watched a 3-year-old at the supermarket, that was in front of me at the line. And the girl was this was a while ago. I was with my mom, actually, and I pointed out to my mom. I was like, look at this. And it's just, she's tiny. She's so young. And she's sitting in like the little seat, in the cart, and she's playing the phone, and she's like tapping it like.
Oh yeah, I have little cousins and stuff.
She's like that not just tapping randomly, like she's thinking and then tapping. You can see her brain working as she's touching this. And it was just like wild. It's like, wow, like people our age and then people that are even younger that are just keep on growing up around this thing, like it's second nature. It doesn't take much for us to develop skills to use these things. It just is, it's intuitive now to us. It's like the VR thing, like all my cousins, everybody my age, and even like I have some that's in the 30s, like put it on, put the controller on, they're already doing stuff.
Yeah, it was a different kind of shock.
For my aunt and uncles, like, it took them a little bit, but then they'd get it. They understood, like, okay, I click it, I can point, and all that kind of stuff. It was a little bit easier for them. And then my grandma, obviously, that was the hardest, because she's just like, how do I hold these? I can look around. How do I click that? So it was like cool to see like the different levels of just the intuitiveness of just, I put it on, I can use it, or I go, man, I don't really know. This is uncomfortable. I don't know how to.
But it's also it's realistic in the sense that it's very user friendly, which is what I think makes it so successful. Like it does feel realistic. Like whenever you grab things and throw things, and like it's relatively like consistent and accurate with how you would actually throw things.
And it's getting to stuff. So it has the ability, but the development still has to get a little bit better. But there's some games where you don't have to use the controllers. It hand tracks you completely. Like it does your individual fingers.
Oh, that's cool.
You can grab things. It's a little finicky right now, but it'll get there though. It'll learn. It'll learn better on how to track things, and you can just use your hands to throw things, pick things up, switch things.
Something I thought about the other day, whenever you were telling me about it, that you were sitting in your living room, whatever, playing, right? Do you ever worry about sitting in your living room, just being fully immersed in it? You're playing a game for a long time, and like you don't know what's going on with the world around you. Mm-hmm. What if someone like came in your apartment? Like does that ever, like, maybe I'm planting a seed that's gonna freak you out in the future, but like, is that something you ever worry about? I mean, like, you ever take it off just to be like, whoa, like okay, everything's good, put it back on.
So you can have headphones, like it's got a little port where you just put the jack in, so you can fully immerse yourself to where you can't hear anything. But the goggles themselves have speakers in them that actually work very well.
Yeah, I remember.
So you can still, and like too, like you tap the side of the goggles twice, and it's got cameras on the outside, so it can see everything. And that's how it tracks it. Yeah. And so you can tap it twice even when you're playing a game,
and just see what's out there.
Automatically see what's like the real world.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
So like it's like a pass through system. But yeah, no, I've thought about that. I mean, I obviously lock my front door whenever I put it on.
Oh, I hope so.
But yeah, like like what if something catches on fire? And you're playing a game.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good example.
Like, I can actually feel the heat. That's so crazy. Like, what's going on? Oh wait, my house is on fire.
Yeah, exactly. They should have some alerts. Like some safety measures built in, so that if you are like fully
it'll get there.
Immersed in it.
You know, like the augmented reality, VR, and then just machine learning and the ability for, it's like watching, like, and this goes to like the story that I was going to talk about here in a little bit, but like Tesla's, cameras all over its car. It can detect what cars are where they're at in real time and stuff. Like, that's going to be the ability. It's going to be able to warn you when somebody comes into your play area. It's going to be able to say, "Whoa, watch out! There's a person here. Don't hit them."
A cat, something like that.
Yeah.
Your dog.
So I sit there and I think about this thing more like when I'm using it. I'm more so like just thinking about just like, damn, like where's this going? It's so exciting to me.
Incredible.
So like just to wrap this up, if you have a chance to either buy one, like I said, like the one that I have is, and they have even a cheaper one too. It was like $300. I bought the more expensive one. Yeah. It was $400 because there's different memories that you get for it. But they start at like $300. So pretty cheap relatively. But if you have just a chance to like either go to a place that has one, like a little bar or whatever that you can rent it out, dude, try it. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you haven't before, like try it out.
Yeah. Very cool. We don't really have time to get into some of the current events that we had. We'll have to save those for next time, but definitely really cool talking about just some of the capabilities that VR has and where it's going to be able to go in the future. I think it's going to be one of the fastest growing, I guess it's an industry, one of the fastest growing industries. It's going to be really cool and definitely going to become like a household item that we have in the future whenever by the time, you're talking about the time like I start having kids, it's going to be like how the PS4 was, or PS3 was, PS2, whatever. For us, it was like everybody had one, everybody was playing one. All
and too, another little interesting little thing is like these prices are being subsidized. So these things that like they're selling. So Oculus is owned by Facebook. So the price of it is subsidized by the advertisements and the games and just the other things that like Facebook has revenue, streams with through this thing. So it's like
makes it affordable.
It'll become cheaper and cheaper just with technology becoming cheaper, and to like it's everything's technology wise most of the time. If it's free or pretty cheap, it's subsidized through advertisements and data and everything. But it's just really cool, man, and it's going to be accessible to a lot of people sooner or later. So.
I'm excited. So
excited for technology, 2021, whatever you have personally, what you have for your goals, man. Just like what Ben was saying, find ways to keep yourself accountable, whether it be reminders on your phone, stickies on your mirror, people in your life, friends. Just keep your eye on the prize. Incremental steps, you'll get there. As long as you have the determination, the will, and it's a realistic goal set in front of you, man, you can get it.
Hey, we made it through 2020. Now let's kill it in 2021.
Let's kill it,
Get
man.
out there and get it.